3 years ago, I made the claim that I don't really think there's such a thing as a piano prodigy. And that is for a number of reasons, which I'm sure I will get into later in this video. But am I wrong?
No, I don't think so.
A lot of people thought so in the comments to my original video. Well, maybe today we'll find out, because I'm going to react to child piano prodigies playing the piano. So let's get into it.
Some people find their talent late in life and others find it right away. Folks, this guy's only 4 years old and he's already a genius on the piano. Let's take a look at this clip.
My name is Evan Lee. This is my house and I live here. This is the kitchen room. This is the dining room. This is the family room.
Yeah.
I have 2 pianos.
You can try your best. Evan has perfect pitch. He can replicate notes and many chords without even looking.
Yeah, so interestingly, perfect pitch is one of those things that you are either born with or you're not born with. Although there are a lot of people who will have perfect pitch but never find out that they have perfect pitch. Because at some point you'll have to learn something about music in order to know that you have perfect pitch, and some people just never do that. And essentially, perfect pitch is where you can recognize notes in your head without needing any reference. So for example, if I was to play a note on the piano, then you would be able to tell me that that's an E flat without needing any reference to any other notes. Most people don't have perfect pitch, but you can train yourself to have very good relative pitch, which is where you can recognize notes that you're listening to by using a reference point. So for example, if I play a C and then I play another note, I can work out what that is from the original note. Out of the two, having perfect pitch is much less common, but having good relative pitch is much more useful, because in order to have good relative pitch, you need to know how notes relate to each other, which is much more useful for learning music. But for a young kid who has perfect pitch, he will recognize these notes almost like you're saying a word to him, and he kind of understands what that word means. So if you play 2 notes on the piano, he can hear that that's an E flat and an A flat, and therefore he'll go to the piano and play the correct note.
Hey, Evan, how you doing?
Good.
Good. You want to get up here? Yeah, let me help you out a little bit there. There you go. I like the way you came out. Evan came out and then it just hit him. I probably need to give him a smile. I love that. Evan, you feel pretty good? How'd you start playing the piano?
When Daddy and Mommy got to the store and bought a piano, and then I started to, and Brandon started to play, and then I copied the music. I tried to copy the music.
You copied the music?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually how a lot of young kids get started. It's actually how I got started as well. When I was young, I wanted to play certain pieces and songs on the piano, and therefore I would try and copy them onto the piano. And by doing that a lot, you start to recognize certain patterns on the piano.
How long have you been playing?
For 3 months.
No, seriously. But he's not kidding. He hasn't been playing for a year. He's been playing for months. You're gonna feel like a complete failure in a second, folks.
If he's been playing for 3 months, I'm sure he's going to make all of us feel like a failure.
Who's your favorite composer?
Bach.
What kind of songs do you play?
Electrical or Bumblebee?
You play what?
Electrical and Bumblebee.
That little... That's the Bumblebee song? Then answer me. That's the
That's Flight of the Bumblebee. It's originally by Rimsky-Korsakov. However, Rachmaninoff did a piano arrangement of it.
Let me see. Do you write your own songs?
Yes.
Like what?
Like 4 or 5 compositions.
That's a 4-syllable word. I was 28 before I attempted a 4-syllable word. You know what, Evan? I think I and everybody in here wants to hear you play. I was gonna play the big piano.
That piano on the right-hand side, I think that's probably a keyboard that's got like a wooden piano case around it. The actual quality of sound on that piano sounded pretty terrible. They actually do that a lot. If you go to a festival and there's a pianist that needs a grand piano, it'll often be an electric piano that's got like a wooden case around it, just because then they can hook it up to the speakers more easily and moderate the sound.
You know that song, the Bumblebee song? Can you play that?
He's very good. I mean, his hands are so tiny, and he's very good.
So, Evan, you've only been playing a few months?
Yeah.
That's it. I want to take this moment out to... I want to apologize to my 7 children. 'Cause
Yeah, so I should probably mention why I don't think there's such a thing as piano prodigies, and I'll let you all argue with me in the comments. But essentially, I think the piano is not a natural thing to do. So the piano is quite an artificial way of producing music. The most natural way of producing music is either to sing or hit things. And that means that on the piano, it's actually made up of quite a lot of different skills. So you need the ability to technically play the instrument, so get your fingers to actually press the right keys. You also need to understand quite a lot of how music is constructed, so how to make chords and what those chords mean, and how to produce melodies and what scales are. And as well as that, you also need emotional intelligence, so you need to be able to understand how different sounds feel, and you need to be able to relate those to things that have happened in your life. So for example, if I was to play the piece Elegy by Fauré. An elegy is a piece written for someone that has died. And in the case of Elegy by Fauré, I believe it was his wife that died, and therefore he wrote this piece as a dedication to her. And if you listen to that piece of music with someone who has had life experience, then you can immediately relate to how that feels. Because music is really trying to create like an audio representation of things that we feel. And although I do think that people are born better at some things than others, and some people are more naturally inclined to be able to do certain things, I don't think the piano is one of those. And the reason for that is because there are so many different skills involved in playing an artificial instrument. Do they really know what they're playing and what it conveys and why it conveys that? Or do they just have the ability to move their fingers and play the right notes? If you are someone who is particularly naturally dexterous, then as a child, this is a skill that you might naturally be able to do. But to me, a musician and a pianist needs to really understand what they're playing, because you're not going to learn any piano piece without going through what that piece means and why you're playing it in a certain way. That is really most of what learning music is, and then actually physically translating that onto the instrument is kind of the final part. I also think that by calling someone a piano prodigy, it actually diminishes the amount of practice and time that they've put into the instrument. In this case, it's 3 months, but no doubt he has practiced an awful lot within that time. But I used to have a teacher when I was 14 years old who actually didn't like it when people said that they were talented, because they felt like it diminished the amount of effort they've put into practicing and learning the instrument. And I think you could probably argue a similar thing for the idea of a prodigy. It kind of diminishes the amount of effort someone has had to put in to learning the craft, rather than just saying, oh, they can naturally do it, when that isn't entirely the case. So let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with me. But either way, for being 4 years old and only playing for 3 months, he is exceptionally good. Not having physical technique as a barrier, it just means he's going to be playing some crazy stuff by the time he's a teenager or an adult.
I don't know how you discovered this talent.
It's so funny seeing his small hand kind of wave over the keys like that. Some people worry that they have a really small hand and therefore they can't play certain pieces. I don't have that problem because I've got massive hands. However, for people who worry that they've got small hands, if you can move your wrist, you can generally play most things, because you can either spread the notes to reach big chords, or you can rotate your wrist in order to be able to move through notes quickly.
How did you learn about the piano?
Because I was 2 years old.
You were 2 years old?
Yes.
Do you remember the first song you played?
Yes.
What was it?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Oh my God, that's one of our favorite songs. That's amazing. Okay, you play in an orchestra?
Yes. I'm a lot, but there's like bigger kids that are like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old or more.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Oh, you're smiling about that. You have fun doing that?
Yes.
Oh my God. Do you read music?
Yes.
Wow. Now, when did you start doing that?
When I was 2.5.
When I was 2.5.
Yeah, reading music is another skill in itself, and also learning to play songs by ear. You can also find children who are very good at picking songs up by ear, so they'll be able to hear chords and they'll be able to just play it on the piano, but then they won't be able to read sheet music, or they wouldn't have the technique to be able to play Flight of the Bumblebee, for example.
And you composed the song?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
What's your favorite song to play on the piano?
Turkish March. Rush E and Still Dre.
All right.
He's clearly been fishing around the internet for all of the memes. Rushy and Still Dre.
Listen at that. You have perfect pitch too, huh?
Yeah.
So if I sing a note, I don't have.
Yeah, I think you'll actually often find most children who people call piano prodigies usually do have perfect pitch. I actually can't think of a single example where they don't have perfect pitch, which is kind of interesting. In fact, a good example of someone who is very good with their ears, who people probably would consider to be a piano prodigy, is Rick Beato's son, when he went viral for being able to hear notes when Rick played the piano.
Okay, Dylan, we're going to do the hardest ear training test of all time.
Oh, A flat major over A major.
Great, sing an F sharp. Excellent.
So even if you have perfect pitch, being able to hear those individual notes in really clustered chords is still quite difficult. And you'll still have to train it. And also, when you get older, your perfect pitch tends to drop in pitch, I believe. So you'll actually think it's slightly lower than what it actually is.
So you're really good. If I sang a note, you could tell me what it is.
Yes.
So you have magical, like, ears, huh?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna hit you the note. Do.
G.
It was a G.
Oh my God. Okay, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be Mozart and an astronaut because I want to play on the moon. I want to play
If he wants to be Mozart, he's going to have to get a new haircut.
What do you want to show us today?
Today I'm going to show you Turkish March by blindfolded.
Blindfolded?
Yes.
Oh, why blindfolded?
Because it's challenging. I like challenges.
Bless him. He's going to go very far if he likes challenges. I did actually make a video on... Actually, it was playing Flight of the Bumblebee, but playing Flight of the Bumblebee blindfolded. Playing blindfolded it's slightly more challenging, but it's not as challenging as it actually looks for an audience member. And that is because, as a pianist, if you learn to read sheet music, most of the time you aren't looking at the keys anyway. You kind of learn to feel the intervals between the notes. So, for example, hearing that is an octave apart. Having said that, I think for someone as young as 5 years old, there are two things that actually make it more difficult than it is as an adult. One of which is their hand span, so he'll have much smaller hands than me, and therefore he'll have to do a lot more jumping around, which means there's more chance of playing a wrong note. But also, he just hasn't had the same amount of time to accumulate that physical knowledge of where all the keys are under his hand. But it really depends what he plays, because if you play a piece where there is no jumping around, then that's much easier to play blindfolded than if you play a piece where everything is jumping from place to place. One other thing I've noticed about both of these kids so far is that they're actually very well paced with their timing of the piece. Both of them played it slightly slower than what you would normally expect expect the piece to be, and that means that they've got much more chance of playing it correctly. And if they do that in their practice as well, then that means they're going to get very good very fast, because their hands are learning how to play the notes correctly from the beginning. One of the biggest problems with most people that learn the piano is that they try and rush, and therefore they play lots of wrong notes, which kind of makes the process of learning a piece of music much longer, because your hand is not getting used to playing it correctly. Yeah, once again, he's playing this super well. For 5 years old, it's kind of crazy. I would also say, though, that this piece is in kind of two parts. You've got the first part, which is in A minor, and therefore sounds kind of darker, etc. Then you've got the second part, which changes to major. Hearing that contrast in the personality of the piece, and then kind of exaggerating it so you're showing it to the audience, and therefore making the piece feel like it's got more of a narrative, it's something that I would probably go on to teach, and no doubt he has a piano teacher who goes through these kind of things. But I do think those kind of things are a good demonstration of kind of the difference between physically being able to press the keys and understanding and expressing the piece of music. Yeah, he's another kid who is exceptionally good at playing the piano, and for his age is really crazy. Once again, the amount of time that he must have put into practicing. But let me know what you thought in the comments. I mean, at their age, there's really no disputing that they are above most other people of their age. They are most definitely in the top 0.0001%. If you want to see the other end of the spectrum and see my reaction to an adult's 1 year of piano progress, then head on through and I will see you there.